Hello and welcome, my name is Nate from Video Games Recon, and as per usual we're going to be recapping this week's popular culture and gaming news that I find interesting and think you will too. Please keep in mind this video was recorded either early Friday evening or Saturday morning on UK time, so some important news could be missing and that this video will be posted most likely on a Saturday or Sunday. With that going forward, I am thinking about revising these videos again, as although they can irregularly get hundreds of views, it can also be quite disheartening sometimes only getting 30 or so views per video. So I figure if I'm going to put the time in to make them, I may as well enjoy everything I'm doing in them. So to that end, I'm thinking that as of next week, I will just try and do a video each week about a single topic. Or if such a topic doesn't present itself, 2 or 3 topics that take my fancy. And rather than doing them every weekend, instead choosing to post them as and when, giving the potential to have said topic discussed closer to when it's most relevant. And with the added bonus of it still being a useful video for more than a week, as if the topic's not time sensitive, it won't get buried behind potentially a week's worth of old news. Anyway, apologies for the long intro. If you are a regular viewer, I would love to hear some feedback on your thoughts on this. Anywho, enough jibber jabber, without any further ado, let's do it to it. Okay, let's kick things off with more rumours supposedly coming out of a Foxconn manufacturing facility of the Nintendo NX specs, and it being a handheld unit with detachable controllers and an external base station that plugs into a TV. Well, although this is mostly stuff we already know, that does seem at this point to be likely, it turns out our most recent friendly NX sketch artist may not be all that legit after all, as according to multiple sources, it appears the picture came from an NX speculation thread on a Chinese version of Reddit. However, something that is legit is our favourite unpronounceable Ubisoft CEO, Yves Guillemot, waxing lyrical about the soon-to-be, if not imminently to be announced, Nintendo NX, stating that the console will be easy to use and one that allows for a different experience from what exists today, going on to say that the interface is very attractive. It's a machine that will be easy to use for all gamers, and that Nintendo has learned from the Wii U, and all publishers learned from what they've done and then came with something new and more attractive, which I think is the case here. Well, they'd have better learned from the Wii U, as if not they're going to be up shit creek without a paddle, in terms of being a hardware manufacturer anyway. As the anomaly that is the original Wii aside, they haven't had a dominant home console since the SNES or N64 at a push. Either way, the speculation is enough now, Nintendo. It's time to announce the NX. My body is ready. Microsoft and Sony's tit-for-tat exchanges continue, with Microsoft taking shots at Sony's PS4 Pro, saying they're giving lots of caveats and asterisks around the PS4 Pro's 4K capabilities, as Sony's talking about things like upscaling and checkerboard rendering, whereas Xbox is giving developers the ability to render their games at a native 4K. And whilst this is technically true and the Scorpio will be a marked improvement, I do take a little umbrage with what's being said here, as yes, the Scorpio at the current known and speculated specs will be able to output native 4K resolutions, but that will be at the expense of frame rate and graphical settings, as 6 teraflops will sit the Scorpio's GPU at something in between a GTX 980 Ti and a GTX 1070. And as an overclocked 1070 struggles to output 4K at high settings at a locked 30 frames per second on most games, without gimping settings anyway. So due to this, you could very well see some developers going with checkerboarding anyway, so as to improve the game's graphical fidelity as opposed to resolution, especially if they want to target 60 frames per second. That said, a place where they really could show off their power would be in games running at 1080p, as they could probably turn all games up to ultra settings and maybe even still achieve 60 frames per second. That is if they're not so bothered about alienating previous Xbox One owners. Tangentially keeping it with Microsoft for a minute, Twitter appears to be courting many potential suitors for a buyout of their social media platform. Companies in the running are Google, Salesforce, Microsoft and Verizon. Twitter, which although a social media giant, still hasn't turned a profit since its inception 10 years ago, which is probably why Twitter seems so open to sell the company, possibly before the year is out. I don't know how to feel about this. Salesforce sounds like they just want it for people's shopping data. Google want it as they've been trying to get a social media platform popping off for a while now with Google Plus and have subsequently failed dramatically. Microsoft probably just wants it so Google won't have it, and because they'd also like to integrate a relevant social media platform into the rest of their products. And God knows why Verizon wants it. I'm not that familiar with the telecommunications giant, but the things I mostly hear about it are negative. So yeah, it seems a case of pick your poison. Let's face it though, it will most likely be the case of better the devil you know, and Google will probably own it, like they'll eventually own everything, including you, me, and they'll probably dominate us with algorithms, robots and crowd moderation, that of course are just rampant for abuse, in some sort of dystopian Orwellian nightmare. It has been officially confirmed that Rocksteady, makers of the Arkham series, is completely done with developing the Batman games, after wrapping up their work on the new Batman VR game. Which, although a shame, is fair enough, seeing as Batman VR will be their 4th Batman game and Rocksteady has more than earned the right to try something else. And as such seems a logical conclusion for them to move on sooner or later. And it sounds like the team are going to take some time and throw some proverbial spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. But with them being owned by Warner Brothers and having such a great track record, rumours are bound, rumours that they themselves haven't quashed as of yet, surrounding them possibly working on a game for another DC character, or maybe even a Justice League game.
Fire sale!
Onto the quickfire news. The Pokemon Company CEO has been teasing in an interview possible upcoming Pokemon Go features, such as a player versus player battle system they're testing in-house, whilst the Niantic CEO has been talking in interviews about a trading system they're working on. The dates and start times for the upcoming Call of Duty Infinite beta have been confirmed by Activision, as has the information that the beta will not be coming to the PC. Xbox One controller support is coming to Gear VR, with Minecraft to be the first game supported. An amazing looking mod called GTA 5 Redux has been released, and that, at least graphically, seems to breathe new life into the game. Some of the features in this mod include 4K textures, improved lighting effects, advanced deformation on cars, more realistic pedestrian fall animations, and much more. Seriously, if you're a PC gamer and have a system that can run this mod and like GTA, then this is definitely worth checking out. One of the heads at From Software discusses the company's future and how, although he doesn't want to make another Dark Souls game, he hasn't ruled out the possibility of other team members working on another game in the future should they wish to. Also, he discusses other games they're working on, one of which is a new Armored Core game, which sounds pretty cool to me as I was a fan of those series back in the day, and a new IP that is, in their words, a weird game, and furthermore a weird genre for From Software to be working on. Nintendo accidentally launches their biggest upcoming Wii U title, Paper Mario Color Splash, early on their digital storefront, as the game isn't set to be released till October 7th. However, there was a glitch where people who had pre-downloaded the game could play it early. Kojima throws shade at Konami over Metal Gear Survive, distancing himself from the project, stating that it had nothing to do with him, and going on to reiterate what most of us are thinking, in that how do zombies fit into Metal Gear, a series about political fiction and espionage. That said, playing devil's advocate for a second, the series does feature vampires and cyborg ninjas, so perhaps a little too late to take the high road on that one, Mr. Kojima. And this week's topic of the show is YouTube. Oh, YouTube. Why do you keep doing this to us? Of course, how could it not be the next amazing idea from the guys that brought you Content ID and demonetization for unadvertiser friendly content? That's right, it's YouTube Heroes. Am I going to say anything that others haven't already? Probably not, but nonetheless I believe it's important that people keep talking about it, as it's about the only way we can protest this idiotic idea to YouTube, seeing as no one has the ability to contact them directly. Well, aside from YouTube Heroes, it seems. If you are one of the few people unfamiliar with what this new program is, let me fill you in. It is basically a moderation program designed to crowdsource and flag inappropriate videos and possibly inappropriate comments, with a video game-esque leveling up system. The potential problems with this are numerous. The first problem is the vagueness of pretty much everything in the video. As usual, YouTube is being an uncommunicative behemoth, just dishing out new and unclear policies on a whim without telling anyone or asking any creators for their opinions. Next, and carrying on from that point, is the confusion as to whether the so-called heroes have the ability to moderate comments on our videos, or whether this just pertains to a YouTube creators forum, which thankfully is seeming more likely at this point, as I don't want some random coming along and deciding what is classed as inappropriate discussion for my channel, as each channel is different and has different needs. For example, a family blogging channel would have different moderation needs to a gaming channel, and a gaming channel would have different needs to a political channel, and so on. And someone who is trying to blanket flag all kinds of different channels' comments would most likely miss the mark and possibly flag conversations that might well be heated or use some profanity but are perfectly acceptable as long as they are being respectful to each other. I am of the opinion that people should have the right to disagree or criticise something without the fear of censorship. And again, that takes us to the next and possibly biggest issue, and that is arming a random horde with the ability to mass flag videos and channels for whatever reasons they deem fit. At very least, this could just be based on their version of what counts as inappropriate, which could be as simple as the use of profanity, which, I don't know about you, would account for about 90% of the people I'm subscribed to. Furthermore, due to the gamification of this program, people are actually incentivized to hunt out videos to flag to gain points. And at worst, this program could and would invariably be abused. Perhaps simply because you don't like what someone is saying, effectively censoring what they're talking about because it doesn't agree with your politics or what video games you do or don't like. It could even be used to take out rival channels so as to try and steal their traffic, or just simply because they like to troll people. Whatever the reason, like all YouTube systems, it is rife for abuse. Sure, they'll probably get banned from the program for abusing the system, but for some it would be worth it if they have an axe to grind. And what is there to stop them from setting up a new account under another name and repeating the process? Even if heroes are on the up and up, their own biases will reflect on their decisions, because unlike if this was their job and their living was on the line, forcing them to be as unbiased as possible, there is little motivation for them to not act as judge, jury and executioner, as opposed to an unbiased moderator only flagging genuinely inappropriate content like uploaded TV shows and hate topics like racism and etc. I understand that moderating all the content on such a massive scale is extremely difficult for YouTube, and is impractical to expect YouTube employees alone to moderate the site. But the way you've gone about doing it yet again is flawed, naive and foolish. Seriously, how can a multi-billion-dollar company like Google keep fucking up like this? There are surely people far more intelligent than you or I there. But it doesn't take a genius to figure out that this one needs to go back to the drawing board, as the potential for abuse is rife. And as an FYI, it's just adding insult to injury, giving these hall monitors direct access to YouTube employees, whereas anyone else would have to scream into the void and hope anyone would give a fuck, kinda like what I'm doing now. Lots of people are speculating that this, much like the demonetization policy, is aimed at all the drama and cyberbullying channels, bringing the website into disrepute with its oh so important advertisers, as Content ID should flag any copyrighted videos, along with disregarding fair use, and you'd imagine hate videos would end up getting flagged on a regular basis anyway. If this is the case, then YouTube should just grow a pair and go directly after them if they are actually doing inappropriate stuff and aren't just voicing their right to an unpopular opinion, instead of YouTube pussyfooting around and dragging everyone else down with them. So, that was my recap of the week's gaming news or points of interest. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff I'll miss each week, so feel free to post anything you're into that I missed in the comments section for discussion. Anywho, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe for more BS of a similar nature. Thank you and goodbye.